This is Fishing with Mike. I'm at Henry Hagg Lake. It's around 6:30 in the morning. It's a beautiful day for fishing. Any day is a beautiful day for fishing. Henry Hagg Lake is about a 1,200 lake reservoir, stocked with rainbow trout. It's got some kokanee, a little bit in here, some brown trout. It's got the record bass caught out of here. But what I'm going to teach you today is the proper methods for catching rainbow trout. I'm an avid fisherman here. I can catch pretty much fish here year-round when they're open, and this year they will be open year-round. They won't be closing this year. But any weather, it could be 90 degrees out, it could be 50 degrees out. It's all about what I call KEPT, K-E-P-T. Knowledge, experience, patience, and technique. I'm going to teach you today how to catch rainbow trout using downriggers. The water temperature on my fish finder is 77 degrees surface. I'm about 76 feet deep right here. The fish have a tendency to get a little bit lazy. A lot of people, you'll see them using all the garbage gear, you know, all the flashers and the minnow things, and you know, the long, I call it garbage stuff. That's fine if they just stock the lake and the water temperature is a lot colder because they're toward the surface. What happens when it gets warm out, like yesterday I was out here, it was 92 degrees outside, and you know, a lot of jet skis and wakeboard boats and tearing up the water, is fish get a little nervous or scared when they see a bunch of garbage going through the water. I'm going to teach you how to fish without having all that garbage. And not just that, when you're only catching 10, 12 inch trout, you don't want to pull in stuff that weighs more than your fish. I like to use downriggers because I can get right down where the fish are hanging this time of year. There's a thermal line. They're usually around the 25, 26 mark is where I like to hang for oxygen levels. But the fish are hanging in the 35 to 36 foot. They'll go up, breathe a little bit, they'll come back down. I got 2 downriggers on this boat. For video purposes, I'm going to show you how to set up, how I set up, and there's all kinds of different methods, but this is my best method this time of year when the water temperature is this warm and the level's down a little bit. There's lots of fish in this lake. You can catch fish here all day long, anytime. There is a technique to get those though. So if you use it a certain way and you used to catch them before, more than likely it is stocked here, the water's colder. Alright, so I'm going to try to show you how set up. First of all, let's talk about the basics here. You need a good pole, not too long when you're using downriggers, not too short so you can reach it. I have here what I call, it's a level one, it's a Magnum Pro. It's got a counter on it. Now the counter is good when you're not using downriggers so you know how far to pull out. In this case I'm using downriggers, so that's not really that important. The level one you want to use because it has less tangles on the tip of your pole, and you'll see what I'm talking about when you're using downriggers. And it keeps your line straighter. You don't get all the kinks and turns and twists in it, like from the memory. Use good line. This here is 8-pound test. Good, strong monofilament line. Okay? And I'm using, in this case, an ugly stick. They're just almost indestructible. Now, on the gear that I use to set up to catch these is I don't like all that garbage gear I was telling you about. Fish them like you're fishing for steelhead or something along that line. I use what they're called sling blades. This one here is an ultraviolet one. Fish can see that underwater, the reflection from the ultraviolet. Then if you notice, I have about an 18-inch maximum leader, and I use a hoochie. These are called hoochies, like a little squid. They got the double hook, and they got the little diver on it. So the sling blade is doing this, and the hoochie is going up and down. And I'll show you in a second how to bait that up. But the point I'm getting at is a lot of people think fish are hungry. They're not always hungry. Let's use people for example. You just got through eating dinner and this kind of stuff, and you're sitting on the couch. You're not hungry. You're not going to get up and go to the kitchen and get something, right? But if someone comes by with a nice warm plate of chocolate chip cookies or some potato chips they throw on the table in front of you, you're going to munch on them. You're not really hungry. You're just kind of, you know, eating them to be eaten. Fish are similar to that. A lot of times they're not hungry. What it is you set up to piss them off. They don't really, how do I say, always want to eat. if you get in their territory with something that's different, almost irritating them, they'll attack it, kind of like a territorial thing. And sure, they'll eat it because that's the way they attack it. So when fish aren't biting, it's not because they're not hungry. It's because they're full, but they'll still bite because the fact that they're kind of pissed off, okay? This setup here is a year-round pissed off setup. It gets in their area when they're hungry, and when they're pissed off, they attack it. By using the typical minnow flashers and all that stuff, and your wedding ring at the end, all that kind of stuff, that's all fine and dandy when they're real hungry. But they don't really attack it too much. This is something different. Fish that are stocked from the hatchery come in here, they have certain feeding times at the hatchery they feed them. So the stockers are used to that. Native fish that are born here in the lake, they don't know what's going on. Those are the ones that will attack almost any time. But the hatchery fish will attack if you piss them off in their area. It's like someone's putting something in your face all the time and you don't really want it, something weird or different, you're going to slap it out of the way. In their case, the way of slapping it is attacking it. And that's when you get a fish on. Okay, enough talk about that. Now, what we do, I got the motor off right now, and we'll show you from the steps here. I showed you my setup. You get yourself power bait. There's good power baits. These you can use, like these are nuggets. These are the rainbow. I got bubble gum, chartreuse. The two favorite ones that I catch here are the rainbow and the chartreuse. Okay, so I'm going to put a piece of rainbow nugget on here, and I will show you how I do it. That seems to be pretty effective. I'll have to stand up here so you can see. Okay, you can take the nugget, the marshmallow rainbow, okay, just kind of make a tube. You kind of mash it, first mash it. Don't worry about the finger thing. These fish aren't that smart because you can put some garlic on it and stuff and get your scent off there. Salmon are a little more pickier than the trout are here. Okay, then you get your bottom hook, not your top one. Put the hook in there sideways, like that. Easier to put on. You make yourself like a tube. Bury the hook, but keep the tip exposed. It's kind of hard to see, I realize, but you'll see it when I get finished here. You just kind of mash it around, make like a little tube. Alright? See how you make it. And take your time on the bait. Don't get in a rush. It's better to have it on there real good so you can catch the fish and it stays on than to keep reeling in your line. And you want to use fresh. Don't have something in the jar for 6 months. It gets too brittle. You know, try to buy fresh bait. This is made by Berkeley here. See, that's how it is. Now, the hoochie is going to slide over the top hook. Once in a while they get hooked on that too. But that's how it trolls through the water. See the diver? Behind the sling blade. Okay? That's all you need. You don't need any weight because I'm going to be using a downrigger. Now I'm going to turn the camera this way a little bit so you can see what I'm doing over here the best you can. Okay? Now I'm going to fire up the motor and I'm going to show you how we set up with the downrigger. Okay, make sure the camera's right for you so you can kind of see the best you can. Alright, so now what you do, now that you got your pole, I'm looking at the screen, it's 77 degrees of water temperature, which we're going down. I've been seeing fish by around 35 feet. Some ones a little higher than that, but most of them are hanging at 35 feet because the water's warm. Down in the 35 feet range, it's around the 50 degree mark. We're 80 feet deep out here. So now what you're going to do is you're going to put it in gear. You want to troll slow. A lot of people troll way too fast, especially this time of year. The fish are lazy and they're not, and there's plenty to eat with algae and stuff growing this time of year, so they're not real hungry. So like I said, you got to attract them. That's why this setup. So now I'm going to put this setup in like this in the water, not on the downrigger yet. Undo your drag so it's real loose. I mean, it comes off real easy. You're going to do about 10 pulls off just with that. There's no weight on it. It's just going behind the boat about 10 feet. Okay. Then you're going to grab into your pole, bring your line to you. Put your pole in the boat and hold the line in your hand. Now I have a downrigger here. This is a Canon downrigger, portable. They're great. It's got the ball on it, a little clip, and it's got a counter on it as well. Okay? And you can't see it with the camera, but there's a counter there. Maybe another video I'll give close-ups of that. Then you got your line 10 feet back. You put your little clip on there. Just enough to clip it on because you're trout. You don't have to have them come off real hard. Okay? Now you're going to let that go right there. The ball's not released yet. You probably can't see it, but the line's coming up, coming down to the clip, off the ball line, and the line's going back 10 feet. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to release the downrigger and go down. See how it's bringing the line off the reel? Okay, now it's kind of tight. Now I'm going to put this in the holder while it's still on the clip. And the ball's not completely released yet. Not going down. Give some drag out, put it in your pole holder. I put them in like this, pole holder. These are trout. So they're not sand. You don't have to worry about the pole coming out of the pole holder. Okay, now, as I'm releasing the ball and the line's to the clip, you can't really see it, but the line, as I'm lowering the weight of the ball, the clip's to the ball line, is coming off the reel. It's feeding off. The line's feeding off. See, I'm using this one hand. I can see it coming off the reel. Over here, I'm at 15 feet so far. I'm dropping down to about 35 feet. How do I know that? I can see that's about there where the fish are going through. The fish are coming across the screen. And my counter right now is at 25. I keep lowering this. It's feeding off the pole. I'm at 30 feet right now. I'm trolling. I'm trolling slow. I'm doing about 1 mile an hour. A lot of people troll way too fast. You know, you can pull up a water ski or something. Now this is fishing. Fish are lazy. Now I'm about 37 feet. So now I lock that. I take my reel that's still feeding off a little bit. I tighten up the drag and slowly reel this in to get the line tight. Because you want it tight so the pole will bend down, so when a fish bites it, it'll bounce. And then they'll pull it off the clip. And most time, a lot of times they won't pull it off the clip because they don't hit it hard enough, but you can see your pole bouncing and you can pick up your pole and release it from the clip with the fish on there. So, I'm slowly tightening this down, my pole, not touching anything else, just slowly reeling the pole in until it's level with the ball, because right now it's like this, an angle. So if you see, I'm bending the pole slowly, and you don't want to have it too tight, you want to come undone from the clip, which I've done several times. You want it just snug. So the pole's bent a little bit. So that way when a fish bites it, you'll see the pole bounce, or they'll grab it and release it from that little clip. And then slowly, the line's slowly coming up where the ball is, because the ball is pretty much down here and the line was back there. And I'm trolling about 1 mile an hour. I'm 81 feet deep right here, pretty much give or take the middle. The lake gets to be about around 100 feet deep this time of year in the middle. Up here in ways, so it'll be 95 to 100 feet. This time of year I like to troll in the 75 to 95 foot range out here in the middle. A lot of people this time of year, for some reason, will troll the shoreline where they're out 20 feet. See, I'm getting a bite on the pole now. You probably can't see it on the camera, but he's biting it. So, I'm going to release it. And I have a fish on. I released it because sometimes they won't do hard enough to release the clip, so you gotta watch your pole. So I saw the pole bouncing. I pulled the pole and released it from the clip with the fish on him. He's on there. And we'll see if we can get him in. If not, that's fine too, because I don't keep anything unless they're 16 inches. I don't understand why people keep 8-inch fish. Let them get bigger. You know, make it more fun later. And that's a rainbow trout. That's the method. Simple. You'll catch them like this all day long. Thanks for watching, and look for my next video. And subscribe to me. I'll have several different fishing methods. Thanks for fishing with Mike today.